Hi everyone, my portfolio is up almost 7% for January and we're only 2 weeks in. In this video, I'll cover off my closed positions for the last week, including a 60% profit on Santander and a 40% profit on China Oil. I'll also cover off my open positions, including 5 new positions. I'll run through the charts and show you what prompted me, from a technical standpoint, what prompted me to open those positions. As always, please like and subscribe to my channel or follow or copy me on Etoro. Links are in the description. Hi guys, hope everyone's safe and well. Before I jump into the portfolio, I just wanted to say that the contents of this video are in no way meant as financial advice. All opinions are my own, so please bear that in mind when watching the video. Okay, so if we jump into the portfolio, as mentioned, I'm currently up just under 7% for the month, and we're only 2 weeks in, so that's a good start to the year. I'll quickly cover off the closed trades for the week. So we had 8 total closed trades. Small loss on wicks there. That one wasn't moving in the direction that I thought it was, and it looks like it might break down just below support. So I took the opportunity to close that one out. We can reinvest some funds in other positions, so that's no problem. But as you can see, the rest of the positions that were closed this week were all in the green. Some of the smaller ones, so Zurich here and Cub, these two not really doing much for me at the moment. So I've seen a lot of other opportunities, which I'll cover off shortly. So I've taken the profits on those and really looking to reinvest elsewhere. A couple of nice performers, Santander, which we closed for a 60% profit, which was nice, and China Oil. There was a nice bounce on that one. That one's hit a resistance area, which we've decided to take profit on. It could break through that resistance, but if it does, it will pull back and well, it should pull back. So we could have another entry on that. But to be honest, it looks like it might fall back into a range. So we took some profits on that. 43% is a fairly decent return. And then a few of the others, Pluralsight, and then SEIC here, all in profit. If you want me to cover off my closed positions in future videos, then that's fine, I can do that. Just let me know in the comments. In this video, I'm just keeping everything fairly brief, but obviously, you know, happy to dive into more detail and show you why and how I close those positions going forward. So let's jump into the first stock, which I'm going to cover off, which is a position we've opened this week. Well, actually, sorry, we've placed an order to open on market open, but that will execute no problem. So this is China Telecom. It's one of the largest mobile providers and service providers in China. Just to quickly cover off the chart, you know, it may look quite bare to you. There's not a lot of indicators on there. I don't tend to overload with a lot of indicators. I don't use moving averages, Fibonacci, Bollinger Bands. I've used all that historically and it hasn't worked out for me. So I tend to keep things very simple. I look at the key areas of support and resistance and also price action. So that sort of helps me make my technical decisions. Obviously, in my other video, which should be popping up now, on my YouTube channel, I've explained that all of the fundamental work is done before these videos are made. So this is purely just covering off my technical entry and exit points. So you may have seen in the news that Trump is targeting certain Chinese companies as to having ties with the Chinese government or being owned by the Chinese government. So a lot of the Chinese stocks have been quite volatile lately. China Telecom was one of them. So you can see here, I mean, it's been bouncing around. It's creating what looks like a bottoming out here. And then there was the news last week that China Telecom was to be added to a list that Trump had basically ordered for Chinese companies to be delisted from the US exchanges or US stock exchanges, on the grounds that they have ties with the Chinese government. So this obviously sent the stock racing downwards. If we can zoom in a little bit on that one. So you can see here the big red candle. Then this week it's been confirmed that it's actually not on that list. So we've got a huge reversal which is a really strong piercing pattern back from below resistance straight back up into the support area. So I think now that that's off, I think we could start seeing this shoot up further, at least until, what are we, just below 2.9. So it could push up here. We'll see what sort of reaction we get if we get up to this sort of area. I mean, if we do break out of this ranging pattern, then we could be seeing a move up to sort of 3.7. But let's see how that goes. It could just be that this consolidates for a while before it moves anywhere. But we could make a nice profit on this pushing up just to around this area here. So that's a position that we've opened. I've got a lot of Chinese stocks in my portfolio at the moment. I think obviously since the Trump administration has been in, there's been no secret that Chinese stocks have been targeted. So they have performed pretty badly over the last, what we're now, 4 years. So yeah, I think that could all change with Biden in place. Obviously, Trump's making it as difficult as possible for China and making sure that he has left his feelings known on the situation. So that could still bring a lot of volatility in the last sort of couple of weeks. But I think going forward, there's definitely some opportunities in a lot of Chinese stocks. So if we jump into the next position, this one is Wolters Kluwer, which is an internet services provider in the Netherlands. Again, not particularly anything fancy on this chart. It's just been following a fairly consistent trend line since the chart dates back on here, which is 2019. So not an awful lot of data to play with, but if you can see here, I mean, the reactions are really consistent. You've got a bullish engulfing candle on the first point here. You've got a piercing bullish engulfing, a bullish pattern on the trend line here. Again, every time it touches this trend line, even when we went into COVID, sort of end of February, beginning of March last year, and it dropped below this trend line, it was still respecting it, as you can see from the reactions around here, before it then broke back through the trend line and then continued on touching it and rebouncing off. You get, again, another bullish engulfing pattern here. And then one that caught my eye the week just gone, was this candle here. So it opened out fairly high. Where are we? Just around about the 70.65 mark. It touched a low for the week, which was actually the trend line, around about 68, and then it bounced up and closed off of that. Now that sort of signal there is quite a bullish signal. Essentially the bulls have won on that scenario. So the fact it's done that on the trend line, made a new low, closed on the high, I think we're going to continue to see this one move up, and it could potentially make an all-time high, which would break above, where are we? Would break above the 78 mark. So this one could be a slow burner, but it's trending in the right direction, and I'm happy to have that one on board. If we jump into the next stock, which is Crown Castle. So there is a bit of a theme occurring here. So this one is, again, to do with mobile services. This is more infrastructure side. So this company owns thousands of cell towers in the US, and thousands of fiber optic routes and services. Again, this one is one that is following a fairly consistent trend line. So if we start from the bottom here, around about the 120 mark, you can see a bullish piercing pattern there. Another one bouncing off a resistance, a bullish engulfing there. And even similar to the one we looked at previously, when it dropped in lockdown below the trend line, it made a significant bounce up, paused below it, and then as soon as it broke above it, it was back onto this trend line again. So you can see it's also created a rough support area here. I mean, I'm not really too concerned about that one. My main view on this is the trend line. So similar to the other one, I mean, this one's an even more stronger looking move. So we touched a new low for the week, and that was below the trend line, and it actually finished up making a high for the week and a bullish engulfing candle at the same time. So it's a really strong bullish movement. So this one will stay in the portfolio for a while, I imagine, if it keeps respecting this trend line. So if we look at the next one, which is Northrop, this is an aerospace and defence stock. So again, this one is got, I'm slightly more or even more convinced by, because if you look at the history of how far back we can go, if we go all the way back to mid 2012, you can see, even though it's breaking below this trend line here, it is always respecting it. So it's bouncing there, touched off of it there, accelerated quite a lot in 2018. Then it hit it again sort of towards the end of 2018 with some conviction. Again, when COVID hit for the first time in end of February, beginning of March last year, it pulled back, touched the trend line and bounced off again. And we were in that similar position now, where we've got the last week, it pulled off and touched the trend line. And then this week, we've got a really strong bullish reaction on that trend line. So a bullish piercing pattern, piercing candle. Piercing candle is normally when you see an open below the previous close. So in this case, you can see here, it opened, the previous week it closed at 287 or roughly 287. And then the week after, it actually opened lower, just below 287.30, but it's pushed right up and closed, I mean, 3/4 of the way towards that candle. So that's a really strong bullish move. So again, if this one respects the trend line like it has done for the last 7 years, which is a strong sign, then we're in a good position on this one as well. So we could see this one push significantly up. I mean, even if we're talking 350 to 375 in the short term, that's still a great return. So we've got that one on the portfolio as well. And then the last one, which is another China-based stock, is CNOOC. I think that's how you say it. Apologies if that's incorrect. This one is basically a crude oil and natural gas exploration company and supplier. They've got their hands in a few different pies when it comes to the crude oil and gas services. So slight risk, because obviously, the price of oil has taken a hit. So it's on the recovery now, but it has previously taken a hit because of COVID. And then obviously there's a big push at the moment for green energy. So some energy stocks are slightly getting left behind, but this one, I like the look of this one. Fundamentally, it's in a fairly good place, which is fine, but you see a massive reaction here. We've got almost a double bottom forming after the big sort of drop off from when we went into, or when COVID became widespread. Huge gap down, touched around, where are we, 6.5 here, and then it's held above that area for a while, and it's touched it again, so around about 7 there. But if you look here, we've got a huge bullish engulfing pattern. So it's hit a previous area of support and shown a really strong bullish reaction. So again, similar to China Telecom, in that I think we could go two ways with this one. We could see it test up to just under 10, similar to it has done previously. And if it does break above, if it does sort of break out here, it could be the confirmation of a double bottom, in which case we could be going from where are we now? So roughly up to about 13. So maybe up to this sort of level. If we don't, and we get a reaction just under 10, then it could fall back, it could roll over and then fall back into a range again. But we can make that decision if we get to this sort of area around here. But even if it's a short-term looking trade, there's still profit there to be had. So we've opened a position in that for relatively low risk. So that is the 5 stocks that have been added this week. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've got any questions on those. There were many other stocks. There were probably about another 10 that I was looking at quite closely, but just didn't meet all the criteria. So again, I imagine it'll be another active week next week. Obviously, the portfolio over the first 2 weeks of January has done really well. I mentioned it's up almost 7%. At one point, it was up almost 10%. So there has been a pullback this week, which is to be expected. It's not just going to continually go up all the time. So we took the opportunity to take some profits and reinvest those into the 5 stocks I've just covered off. If you did have any questions, please post them in the comments section on my YouTube channel or on my Etoro page. As always, please like, subscribe, follow, or copy me. I'll be doing another weekly update next week, so let's see where the portfolio goes.